Our next guest is a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and the editor of The New Yorker. The 25th Annual New Yorker Festival runs October 25th through the 27th here in New York City. Please welcome back to the show our friend David Remnick, everybody. Welcome back, David.
It's great to be here. And it's great to be alive now, isn't it?
It's so nice to be alive.
Yes.
People don't say that enough.
You know, they say Nazi more often than that.
I know. Now, here we are a couple weeks out of the election.
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
Have about 50-50. Now, of course, in 2016, it did not feel like a coin flip election.
No, it didn't. In fact, the New Yorker was all set for Hillary Clinton to win. We had pieces ready to go. We had a cover all set to go. Would you like to show it?
I have the actual, so this was the cover that you guys had ready to go.
See, first woman president.
Yeah, there you go, that's it.
And, yeah. There was a big sign back there. And I have that framed at home.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it remind you to not write pieces in advance of an election?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
In fact, so what happened that night, I was at one of those parties where people are, you know, seeing election results and very confidently exchanging information.
I was very much the same kind of party.
Oh, they have friends or giving them phone calls about Hillary Clinton. She'll be giving a victory speech by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I had had one large drink.
Yeah.
And I had also brought my laptop to this party on the way home from work for some reason. And the numbers, remember that little arrow in the New York Times? The needle started to go, and it went the other way. And I went into the kitchen, because we had nothing about Trump winning. And I went into the kitchen and wrote in a torrent this piece about how awful life would be. And he was an authoritarian.
Yeah.
And he was all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a piece about a horrendous period to come. And I think, if anything, I undersold it.
Yeah.
It was called An American Tragedy, and it's just never stopped being one. And the race is extremely tight. You hear all these cliches on TV. I'd rather be her than him. That's what the Democrats say. I'd rather it be over.
Yeah, I'd rather it be over too. But I think it's going to be, no, here we are. Yeah, I remember I was at a party where there were some Europeans, and I don't think they quite understood how the Electoral College worked. And there were a lot of them were like, "She won Connecticut," and I was like, "Be quiet." Yeah. Rhode Island for Hillary. The night is ours.
Massachusetts.
The New Yorker endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yes, and that solved everything.
Yes.
We wrote a 5,000-word endorsement of Kamala Harris, and which had a lot of negative things to say about Donald Trump, and it changed the mind of an entire nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of internal argument at the New Yorker about who the endorsement would go to?
I sent out an email to the various senior editors saying, unless anybody objects, I think the editors are going to endorse Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
And I got not one email back, except for, somebody said, well, what about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? We haven't talked about him. And we had already published a piece about him and his dead bear.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
we, those of us in the comedy world, appreciated the publication.
My pleasure. So Claire Malone wrote this piece, and the only thing I can say negative about Claire's brilliant piece about it was that she had missed the whale angle.
Yes, there was he strapped a whale to his, a whale bone, right? Or a whale carcass.
A whale's head, which he had used a chainsaw to sever off from said whale. And I'd never heard this phrase before, whale juice.
Yeah.
Seeped into the car.
There's a reason you haven't heard it. It's not nice to hear.
No.
Yeah. Like
Can I take it back?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the one thing they couldn't even sell the kids. They're like,
whale juice.
Cherry whale juice.
Your previous guest could sell it.
Tom Holland could sell whale juice. Don't worry about Tom Holland.
Yeah.
You joke about how the New Yorker doesn't change minds, but we do also have things that I think historically would have changed minds, right? Like John Kelly, the fact that a former chief of staff, who is, was certainly before he took office, respected, former military man.
Yeah.
And he basically, gives a long interview where he said Trump praises Hitler. And he said, by any definition, he's a fascist. And yet, do you feel like this moves the needle at all for anybody?
Well, but this has been going on for years.
Yes.
For years. We've known, in meetings in the White House, President Trump, then president, when faced with demonstrations in a democratic nation, asked Mark Esper, then defense secretary, couldn't we just shoot them all in the legs? So the evidence has been, it's not, from the day he went down that golden escalator, every day brings a new nightmare. And
is that the problem, that every day brings a new nightmare? And if
well, there's a lot of problems.
Well, but like, is it just that there's too many for us to focus on, that ultimately, like...
I think you got at something, in all seriousness, about comedically, exactly what's the problem, which is to say we live in such a world where nothing really registers. And whether it's because of the speed of social media or the lives we lead or the credulous nature of human beings, I don't know. But you're right. I mean, this has been an emergency in liberal democracy since 2015, 2016. And some people recognized it earlier than others. It's nice that John Kelly said this on the record to the New York Times and on audio. Maybe it'll register. But evidence like that has been there from day one. He is a cruel man. He is anti-democratic. He cares about nothing and nobody but himself. And the prospect, we've had bad presidents before, calamitous presidents, bad times, but that kind of human being is unique, I think, in our history.
You know what? I had been undecided in that, I think.
That swayed you.
What you just said.
That turned you.
Because I obviously want to weigh everything about.
You do.
No, it's. I mean, it is fairly harrowing. You interviewed him in the White House as president.
No, never.
Okay.
The last time I ran into him, he was late for what he was coming to.
What year was this?
After he'd been elected president. And I was seated next to Kellyanne Conway, who was his campaign person, his advisor. And he was late coming into the room. And I wondered why, because usually, unlike Bill Clinton, he gets there on time. That's one very nice, lovely quality.
Yeah.
And I looked
a lot of fascists actually are famously on time. That's like the thing they say about him.
That's right.
They're all like, you know what?
Mussolini, right on time.
Right on time.
Never late for a day.
Never late for anything. And they're like, you're going to miss it when it's gone.
Yeah.
Get your precious democracy back, and you're going to be waiting all day.
Exactly. So he's not coming in the room. He's not coming in the room. I'm sitting next to Kellyanne Conway. I look on my phone, and there is Trump, who was in the hallway, tweeting about how Arnold Schwarzenegger was an inferior host of The Apprentice.
Yeah.
He's elected president, and this is what's on his mind, without any irony. That's him, and I turned to Kellyanne Conway and I show her this, and she said, "Welcome to my life."
Well.
Which I had no sympathy for. Get out of that life. Leave that life.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's right. That is not a life you need to have chosen. New Yorker Festival, I'm really excited to do it.
You're in it.
I'm in it. I'm doing it, on Friday. I'm very excited. You are interviewing a couple people. Liz Cheney.
And Rachel Maddow. Very similar.
But very exciting. Again, another, as we talk about, like, what matters anymore, Liz Cheney, and, whatever you think about her politics, I obviously don't agree on a great many things with her, but I do really respect that she has sort of planted a flag in the ground here about what a terrible choice he is and how he does not represent her conservative values or her Republican
values. What's scary is how lonely she is. Yeah. That the Republican Party has become a MAGA party. It's the party of Trump. And it's not to me surprising that a couple outliers exist. Where the hell are the rest of them?
Right.
And so the ability to show any bravery is instructive. You look back in history, I covered the fall of the Soviet Union and dissidents and things like this, and you have to recognize that really early on in Soviet communism, the number of dissidents in a huge nation was tiny, tiny. It requires a lot to be brave in this world. And nobody would be risking their lives to do it. So it's disappointing that there aren't a hell of a lot more Liz Cheneys in that sense.
New Yorker is going to have its 100th anniversary. You're only the 5th editor in the history of the magazine.
Yes.
What was your first appearance in the New Yorker?
Well, the first appearance as an article when I was a freelancer still at the Washington Post was a long, involved, serious piece about the last days of Gorbachev in office as the leader of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed on Christmas night, 1991. pretty good story.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of access, and I did that piece. That wasn't my first appearance.
Okay, that would have been a great first appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first appearance was I was an intern at the Washington Post, and they sent me to Atlantic City to cover the Miss America contest, which people took seriously in those days for reasons surpassing wisdom. And I described one of the contestants. She did one of those dances, you know, for the talent section.
Yeah.
And I said, her hips akimbo.
Okay.
Hips cannot be akimbo.
No.
Arms can be akimbo. And the New Yorker has these little things called news breaks where people misuse the English language in some way. We make fun of them and da-da-da. I appeared as a correction.
Oh, my God. So your first appearance, they were burning you?
I got burned, but good. And I was teaching, I graduated college, and I was teaching English in Japan. Think Bill Murray Stripes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I got no letters. And it's pre-internet, there's no email, so letters, and nobody cared about me. I was out of sight, out of mind. All of a sudden, I get a flood of letters. It's all my friends showing me being made an ass of in the New Yorker.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But then you called up and you're like, I'm going to be the editor one day.
Yeah.
You'll rule the day. You corrected David Remnick.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. I can't wait to see you at
Pleasure.
the festival. David Remnick, everybody, 25th Annual New Yorker Festival, October 25th through 27th.